Alrighty. Hello, everyone. Just gonna wait for it to get to 7, so people are just gonna start trickling in. Welcome to this Viterbi Voices live chat. We're just gonna be discussing all things Viterbi, what it's like to be engineers at USC. It's brought to you by engineers at USC. So yeah, welcome. We're just sort of discussing Nick's very nice microphone and lighting setup that he got going there.
Yeah, it's a I got this as a gift, not necessarily a gift from USC.
I give to
Um
you, so.
I feel
yeah.
like that's misleading.
Yeah, it was a gift to myself, but using gift cards that I got through USC when I was a freshman. Because we were online that entire time. And so most of the times when you'd get like typically a lot of orgs give out free food, a lot of events your freshman year and sophomore year, they'll give out like t-shirts, hats, a bunch of merch. Because we're online, they could do that sometimes. Like I think I got like maybe a hat and a t-shirt, and those arrived like a month later. But what most of them did was give out gift cards to the bookstore so you could order it on yourself, or just gift cards to Amazon.
Mhm.
And it was all for these online games. And so I would just go so hard in the paint of just all these games. I think code names really good at. Scriblio went really hard on that one. Just guessing so much.
Why don't you own code names if
I
you're so
do
good at it?
I do own code names. Dude, I'll go right now.
There, you don't have
I'll
code
be
names.
right back, everyone.
No, he doesn't have code names. I'm calling it right now.
All right. Well, pivoting. How was everyone's weekend? Read-day weekend, which is nice.
It
I don't have class on Friday, so it was like a 4-day weekend for me.
I'm jealous. Oh,
How'd you swing that?
Now don't you sound silly.
Well, now don't you look silly since you gatekeep that in your room.
No, I went to the living room and got it. So everyone in the background, Aisha and I are close friends, and so she were over like last night, because we were having like a game night, and so this came in actually this morning. Aisha, Jared, another one of my
Oh,
roommates, his parents brought it in, so it's like here's one
is
of new games
that
because we do lots of
so?
games. Yeah, you
Mm,
guys slightly deceptive.
see, so I was like half right, I feel like.
You're almost there, but you're not up to date on all the games that we have at our house. So
I guess so. I
mhm.
guess so. Vidya, how did you swing no class on Fridays?
I know, it's impressive.
That's crazy.
Okay, so here's the thing. I'm only taking 14 units this semester.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't have class on Friday, and I was taking 18 before, but I just managed to get 2 GEs that neither of them had class like discussion on Fridays.
Dang.
Yeah,
I'm very jealous.
Nice.
I know, and then I dropped one of them. So
Oh, that helps too.
yeah,
No classes on Fridays is life changing. This is the first
it's
semester I've had no classes on
You have
Fridays,
no
and it's
class on
yeah.
Friday?
Like
yeah.
I can't even remember what it was like to go to class on Fridays. I like
What do you
can't.
do with all the time?
Well, first, I don't set an alarm when I wake up on Friday morning.
You just
Really,
like wake up because you woke
really
up.
liberating. I usually get up at like 7:30 anyways, but like
Oh,
at least I can get up at 7:30 without an alarm, which is really liberating.
Very nice. All right, for anyone who just joined, hi and welcome. You're entering the Viterbi Voices live chat. Just gonna wait a little bit longer for people to keep trickling in. It's almost 7, so we'll get started maybe just right after 7, but welcome. We're just sort of discussing how lucky Vidya and Nick are as to not having classes on Friday. Cannot relate to that. I have a lot of class on Friday.
I have 3 classes on Friday, and the last one goes until 4 p.m. And then I have a meeting for one of my clubs from 4 to 5. So it's a long day.
Yeah.
that's extremely tough.
That
That's
is
extremely
like
tough.
brutal.
Yeah,
That
last semester I only had one class on Fridays though, so that made up for it. It was from 12 to 1 math.
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I have that lovely 8 a.m. mech ups on Friday. Gotta
Oh,
be
what?
there. Gotta be there.
They
Yeah.
changed it back. So for reference,
Yes.
last semester it used to just be Monday, Wednesday, and they
I
extended it to
know.
like 2 hours, hour and a half, or something like that. So much
Yeah, you
nicer.
guys got lucky. They changed it back to the Monday, Wednesday, Friday, like the infamous 8 a.m.
Ah,
Yeah.
you
not
can
fun.
blame Nick's class.
What?
Nick messed it up.
Always against me, Aisha, SMH.
All right.
Wait, Aisha, how's your Fridays? Don't you have like spike ball on Friday? Spike ball club?
I was supposed to go this week, but I didn't end up going.
Ah.
I was supposed to. Yeah, one of these days.
Very nice. All right, let's get this chat started. First things first, we want to welcome each and every one of you once again to the Viterbi Voices live chat brought to you by us, real life engineering students who were once in your shoes not too long ago. Before we move on, I want to thank the panelists for taking time out of their Mondays to join us. Shown here is our agenda for the next hour or so. We'll kick it off by introducing our panelists for the evening, all of whom are current engineering students. Then we'll be answering questions you all submit through the webinar Q&A feature, though I ask that you hold out on submitting your questions until we get to that Q&A portion. It's probably obvious by the title, but today we'll be discussing student life at Viterbi, any question about the student experience at USC, experience in engineering, or just college in general is totally fair game. If you are viewing the live chat recording at a later date, don't worry, you can still email us at vstudent@usc.edu. And we may not get to all of your questions during the session. This is quite a large session, but if you email us, one of us will follow up with a response, but for now, hold off on submitting your questions through the Q&A. And as a reminder, we are just students. We are here to share the student perspective of Viterbi and cannot answer the majority of admission-related questions. If you have those admission-related questions, feel free to direct those to our admission staff at viterbi.admission@usc.edu. At the end of the session, we'll spend a few minutes going over how to get in touch with admission and how to stay in touch with us, as well as sharing some resources that may be useful to you to navigate the application process. Now, without further ado, let's introduce ourselves. I'll start first. Hi, everyone. I am your host for this evening. I'm Kaleigh. I go by she, her pronouns. I am a junior here studying astronautical engineering and minoring in photography from Bakersfield, California. On campus, I'm involved in USC's Rocket Propulsion Lab. I have done research, both my freshman and my sophomore, as well as this year. So undergraduate research is something you can ask me about. I've done research at through CURV at CERC, which stands for Space Engineering Research Center. So you can ask me about that. I'm also part of the National Society of Black Engineers, so NSBE. And then the summer after my freshman year, I did an internship at a company called Astrolab Venturi. So if you want to ask me about internships, you can totally ask me about that. And now for your panelists.
Hi, everybody. My name is Aisha. I also go by she, her pronouns. I am a senior studying biomedical engineering. I'm also on the pre-med track. And some of my involvements include, I was in a class called CE 486, Innovation in Engineering and Design for Global Crises. Last year, it's a full year length class. Super awesome. I got to travel with the class to Romania to kind of better understand the situation of Ukrainian refugees who have fled due to the war with Russia. So our goal in the class was to ideate and create products targeted to helping these refugees with their quality of life in new neighboring countries. So super great experience there. I'm also part of Troy Camp, which is a mentoring club here on campus. We work with South LA youth and just through mentoring and tutoring and just hanging out and having fun. I also did undergraduate research my freshman and sophomore year. And I'm a part of the Associated Students of Biomedical Engineering, loosely, not one of my full-time commitments, but I can answer questions on that as well. I was a part of the undergraduate student government. I am currently on the Frontita Records team, which is a nonprofit startup here at USC. And I also was involved in Troy Labs, which is a club housed under the Marshall School of Business.
Hey everyone, I'm Nick, pronouns he, him, his. I'm a senior studying astronautical engineering from Bakersfield, California. On campus, I'm involved in the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers, SHIP, where I'm the vice president. I'm also involved in Trojan Knights. They're the premier spirit and service organization for USC since 1921. You could have seen us at any of the sporting or athletic events this past weekend against USC Nevada. We were painted. We had Zach Attack in the front row. I'm also part of the Advanced Spacecraft Propulsion and Engineering Lab, where we do research in thermonuclear propulsion. as well as continuously rotational detonation engines. I also participate in intramural sports where I play flag football. We also have a ton of other ones and just club sports too. Recently, I've been getting into pickleball and boxing have been my new ones. And yeah, thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Anna. I'm a sophomore studying computer engineering and computer science. On campus, I'm part of HackSC, which is the group that organizes one of the hackathons on campus. I'm also part of Animer Media. I used to work as their copy desk lead, where I basically did grammar policing, as I joke, and now I work on copy editing for a local newsletter called Morning Trojan. I am also part of Taiwanese Student Association, where I sort of just hang out, go to events, eat free food, which is always really nice. And then I also work on campus. So I work for the CS department as a course producer. So you can ask me questions about like maybe being a TA as an undergraduate. But also I write for the CS department on research that goes on campus.
Hi everyone, I'm Asna. I am a senior studying biomedical engineering, also pre-med like Aisha. I'm from Chino Hills, California, which is only 30-40 minutes east of here at USC. But on campus, I'm involved in a few things. So my first commitment I joined at USC was Los Angeles Community Impact, which is pro bono consulting. So essentially we go to nonprofits and social enterprises, and we work with them to try to figure out how we can improve their social impact. I'm also involved with Blueprints for Pangea, which is a club that I started here at USC and helped co-found. And essentially what it does is that it goes to the Keck School of Medicine and takes any extra medical supplies that they may have and then redistribute them to areas of need worldwide. So for example, Ukraine or Venezuela or Myanmar, and even in Skid Row, which is in LA. Also in Skid Row, I'm a part of mobile clinics, so we do health screenings, so involving like blood sugar screenings or hypertension or blood cholesterol screenings. In terms of research, I'm involved with a medical and analytical devices lab, which is a BME focused lab. And so what we do is we try to develop low cost devices. And some other involvements that I'm in are Muslim Student Union and the Institute on Inequalities in Global Health.
Alrighty, now here for your moderators, who will be behind the scenes responding to some of the Q&A questions that don't get answered live by the panelists.
Well, hi everyone, I'm Ashley. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm a sophomore studying electrical and computer engineering from La Cañada, California.
Hi, everybody. My name is Vidya. My pronouns are they, them. I'm an environmental engineering major. I'm a junior and I'm originally from Des Moines, Iowa.
Alrighty, everyone. Now it's time to submit your questions. If you're on the webinar, we encourage you to submit questions now through the Q&A feature below. If you're viewing the recording, you can email us with your questions to vstudent@usc.edu for answers at a later date. We want you all to know that a few years ago, we were in the same exact position as you are now, applying to colleges and trying to decide where the best fit for us would be. And that's why we're here to answer all of your questions and speak about our honest experiences. I'm going to kick it off with one question for all of the panelists. And that question being, how did you choose your major?
That's a great question. I mean, I guess since I'm already talking, I can start. So I chose biomedical engineering because my entire life, like kind of all I wanted to do was help people. And I thought the best way to do that was to become a doctor. So all throughout high school, I did a lot of like pre-health involvements, and really thought that that's what I was going to do. And then I kind of got to my senior year and was like, I'm not sure if I can dedicate like 10 years of my life to this one profession that if I'm not like fully sure I want to do it. So that's when I kind of started looking for other things, and biomedical engineering kind of seemed like a great in between, like looking at the field of medicine from the technical perspective, so still being able to help people and help patients, but kind of more on the back end, and doing it at USC allowed me to kind of keep that pre-med in case I still decided to go that route. So that's kind of how I ended on BME.
Yeah, so for me, I'm astronautical engineering, and those are one of the three like base ones of aerospace, mechanical engineering, and then astronautical engineering are all very similar and tightly knit. So for me, I really want to go into space, and so astronautical is the best fit for me. It's essentially everyone of the AME and then the Astro kids study the same base knowledge of thermodynamics and physics. But then from there, it's what you want to do with it. So mechanical engineers are very broad, any moving components. Aerospace engineers cover everything from the ground up to the atmosphere. So when you're dealing with going through something, that's where aerospace kicks in. And then astro, we focus more on in-space stuff. The air is kind of just in the way. So obviously we figure out how to get through it. But then past that, we look into orbital mechanics and then space flight and stuff like that. So it's really fun stuff. Anyone interested in the space industry or anything similar to that, astronautical engineer is definitely the best fit.
For me, it's sort of interesting because not every school offers computer engineering and computer science as one major. And the way that I like to say is like, it's sort of two parts. The first part is that I'm pretty indecisive. And so I was like, I like hardware and I like software, but I can't decide which one. And so being CECS means that I get to delay such a decision for a little bit. But the other part is also that you get to take CS classes from CS professors. So they'll teach you all like the more mathy side of things that are related to computer science and not necessarily more of like the math of the electrical engineering, but you still cover that in the electrical engineering classes. And so like sometimes it's harder for you to learn electrical engineering stuff outside of college because number one, it costs a lot of money oftentimes. And the other part is like there's a lot of stuff that might not have a lot of documentation online like computer science does. And so being able to sort of touch that while I'm a student here at USC is something that I think is very valuable because I might never get that experience ever again.
Yeah, and then I think I can touch a little bit on this. I mean, I always knew that I was interested in math and science, and engineering was very appealing to me. But I couldn't really figure out which one. And then I was like, okay, well, I knew that I get bored sort of easily, so I was like, okay, probably should choose something that is new and fresh and like evolving. And I mean, I think space is pretty new and fresh and evolving. So I found it very exciting, very unknown. I was excited that it's interesting that sort of like space research and space industry are very similar. It's not really like two different things. A lot like it's research and development in industry as well as within research, which I thought was really cool. That it's constantly like developing and growing as a whole. And so I was just like, okay, I want something that I know that I'm gonna be engaged in, every day. And space is really booming right now, so that's sort of why I picked it. All right, next question. So I'm taking one from the Q&A. The question is, as a college student, how do you maintain a healthy work-life balance at USC?
I can go ahead and start on this one. I think the reason actually, or one of the reasons that I chose USC was because I think it has a really great work-life balance. And I knew that if I wanted to go into engineering, but I also wanted to pursue a lot of my other curricular interests, for example, like being pre-med, but I also have a minor in the history department. Being interdisciplinary and also balancing it with like a kind of work hard, play hard mentality is, I think, like something that a lot of USC students kind of embody. And I really, really appreciate that about the culture, actually, because it's not only just about how you like balance your work in life, but it's also about those around you. And I found that like very specifically within the biomedical engineering major, like a lot of people are like pursuing interests outside of just school. So for example, like recently I've gotten into paddle boarding because the beach is super close by and there's like a metro that goes straight there. And so like taking advantage of like being in LA and having access to all of those like life experiences is super, super valuable to me. And I think to a lot of people at USC.
Google Calendar. Amazing.
Yeah.
Obviously engineering, it's a lot of work. But I think just the way the professors and the students really attack it is like you can do things outside of it. You're not confined, especially in scheduling and class and stuff like that. Next semester, I'm taking an EDM class, and that's just part of my coursework and curriculum. So I'm excited about that. And then essentially, as long as you can schedule your time out, putting in work when you need to do that, in class and stuff like that. You have a lot of time outside. Most classes end before 4 or 5 p.m. And then after that, most student orgs start all their meetings, general body meetings, or any events after 5 p.m. So it works out well that you go to school, then you go to all your events and stuff like that. And then you have time to go have fun. Pickleball, boxing, anything like that. You can really pick up any new fun stuff. There's always a club for that or classes that are really cool.
Yeah, I also just think it's about like knowing yourself too and knowing like how much you can handle. I think like as a freshman, you sort of start off a little slower and then you're able to sort of build into doing more activities. I think you just get better at doing your work more efficiently. Like I notice like assignments don't take me as long to do, so then I have more time to go, explore and, do other hobbies and stuff like that. But I also just think that like they were saying before, the culture here is very much so like, work hard, play hard. So I just think being surrounded by people who are constantly, like excelling in class and like in engineering and then going out and doing the most cool and insane things like outside of that. I just think everyone's sort of doing things like that. So then you're also doing things like that because it's just like, what we do to a certain extent. Um, and so I think that you sort of just find time. It's sort of like, the Google Calendar looking, okay, I got 3 hours here, I can fit that in. And, from there, it just sort of fills everything in.
And I think kind of you touched on a good point that I like, Kaleigh. I'm a big fan of work smarter, not harder, especially as engineers. Like we're not here to sugarcoat it for you guys. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. And you're gonna like we see a lot of our friends who are not engineering majors having a little more time to do the things that like playing pickleball every day and going boxing every day instead of kind of having to choose the days that we go. So that can be a little difficult sometimes. So I think that something that I've learned kind of in my years of engineering is just prioritizing and seeing if and not that I am implementing this into your brains, but if an assignment is going to be worth 0.5% of my grade and it's do that or go to the football game on Saturday, I'm going to be going to the football game on Saturday. So like it's kind of just seeing kind of where your priorities kind of lay and just what you want to prioritize over other things, because it is a lot of work. So if you want to sacrifice like spending an extra hour perfecting an assignment for going to hang out with your friends, getting dinner or something, I think that's like a really important decision that should be made sometimes and that you kind of learn how to balance throughout your 4 years.
Aisha, football games are Saturdays. There's always Sunday,
There's always Sunday.
There's always
Even
Sunday.
this weekend there was even Monday. So exactly.
I also like to always tell people like sometimes you'll find random blocks of time that are like a lot more extended than you think. So for example, it's going back to football games. I remember last year, I had an assignment in one of my classes. It was a poetry class. You were supposed to write a poem. And so I was there 2 hours early to get the best seats you could possibly at the game. And so I'm like, I have 2 hours to kill. What can I do? And so I sat down and I wrote that whole poem and then like the analysis of the poem that I was supposed to write about. And because I could do that on my phone, I was like, I might as well knock this out now while I can like just sit there and think. Like instead of like, I don't know, scrolling on my phone and then being bored really quickly, like spending that time to do something that maybe was interesting or even like productive.
Yeah, no, the amount of times I have pulled out my phone and done work on it in line for an event or just like something like that is quite insane.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. You have your friends being like, are you really doing that right now? It's like,
Yes.
please just let me work and then we'll have fun.
All right. Okay, next question. This question asked, what is the most interesting class that you have taken at USC?
I know Asna has a great one for this question.
Wait, actually, you should start, Aisha. I think
Okay.
you should start. Yeah.
Okay. I love taking classes outside of Viterbi. So I've Oh, the most interesting one though. Okay, I'll give my Viterbi answer and then my outside Viterbi answer. I think outside of Viterbi, the most interesting class I've taken is hip hop dance. I love that class. Highly recommend. It's so fun. You literally just learn from a professor in Kaufman which is like our school of dance. And you just dance every day for like an hour and a half. It was so fun. Like everybody in the class didn't know how to dance, so it was just a great time. And then I would say actually my business class this semester is really interesting as well. I'm taking a class in Marshall called like how to build or playbook to building the best tech startup, something like that. And it's really interesting, and it just kind of goes through the process of building a startup from a guy who's built multiple very successful startups himself. So that's really, really cool too. And then if for Viterbi, I would say the most interesting class I've taken, and I know Asna is gonna probably disagree with me on this one. But actually I would say this year my BME 404 class, which is orthopedic biomechanics, is really interesting. It is, I promise. It's like learning about the physics of the body and like how medical devices and like kind of sports equipment um are geared towards like improving athlete performance or improving like medical standing quality of life. So it's really interesting, and I've been enjoying it a lot so far this semester. And I'll pass it to Asna.
Nice, Aisha. Yeah, I've actually heard pretty cool things about 404. I haven't taken 404 yet, but we shall see. Maybe I'll take it soon. I'd say I think one of my favorite classes at USC has been a table tennis class. So it's a 1 unit physical education class. And so like you have like 18 units that you can take a semester, and 4 unit classes become 16. So you often have 2 units of like extra wiggle room. And something that I always recommend for people to do is, for example, like learn a new skill. And so something that I decided to do, I think a year ago, was take a table tennis class. And growing up, me and my dad played table tennis for maybe like 5, 6 years in my garage. But then you get into a class and you realize how much you don't know. So I learned how to slice. I learned how to do all the things, how to like actually play a proper match. So that was super fun. I think academically, though, my favorite class is a class for my minor, which is in resistance to genocide. And so I did a research capstone in the class for something that was important to me. And so it was a really cool way to kind of look at something that like I had heard about in my family or heard about in my ancestry, and actually look at it from an academic perspective. And so that was super, super awesome. I'd say that if you get the chance to take classes outside and both inside of Viterbi, whether they're like physical, like table tennis, or like something more humanities focused, I would highly recommend.
Yeah, as a sophomore, I think it's only my third semester on campus, so it's definitely harder to have explored all those classes. But I think this semester I'm taking two really interesting classes. The first one is I'm knocking out my life sciences GE requirement, and so I'm taking the science of sport. It's basically talking about, like as the title suggests, how sport like affects your body, and also like ways that you could possibly improve yourself in those ways. And our labs are really cool because it's you like taking the measurements on yourself and seeing like, oh, like for example, like how do we do like the VO2 max measurement, like how much or like even like how much oxygen your body can like handle or whatever. And so it's really cool like seeing all the measurements like from like maybe like an Apple Watch or something like that, like reflected in real life, and maybe like whether or not they're actually accurate. So yeah, I sort of came into college worried about having to take bio because I am not a bio person. And so I was like, oh, like what if it's like hard or like stressful? Like what if I have to like retake like I don't know general biology? And I didn't have to do that at all, thankfully, because I don't think I would have made it through. But I think having that there, like to take a really interesting class, like for a requirement that really anyone has to take, is really cool. And then in terms of like within my major in Viterbi, I'm taking EE 250 this semester, which is distributed systems of Internet of Things, which is kind of a mouthful, but it's like basically how networking stuff works, which it sounds very vague, but it's basically how your devices can interact with other devices and like come together to build something that like now maybe everyone is connected on the internet, that kind of thing. And so the labs are kind of tough, as I'm sure Ashley can attest. But it's been a really interesting class so far, and the professor is wonderful.
Yeah, I'll go really fast. Spacecraft systems engineering, Kaleigh, you're going to take it right now.
Yeah.
First semester is fun. You go figure out all the different subsystems of engineering. The second semester, though, is awesome. The professor is a NASA JPL systems engineer. He worked on Curiosity, Perseverance, and then a couple other new missions. And so you design your entire project proposal for a NASA mission. We did an Enceladus orbalander. Enceladus is one of the moons of Kaleigh, wait, what moon is it? Saturn?
Saturn, yeah.
Saturn, yeah. And so we did like a little orbalander and then orbits, probes, lands on the moon. And then we do that pitch for other NASA JPL engineers. He just brings in his friends, and then they sit in on class and judge us, critique our work. And it went really well. And then Anna, similar to you, sport or science of sport is really popular, and nutrition for life. The labs are basically the same, just like figuring out your own biometrics. But then the class does a little bit different of it, just covers just like lifestyle nutrition. And I've really enjoyed that one. And then this past summer, so I took that this last spring and then implemented it during the semester and then over the summer. And it's just been like life changing. It's really great tracking my macros. I'm doing great. 12% body fat, down 147. Like, oh, this class really, really helpful. If anyone else just like wants to like eat healthier, just like really improve their like health, great class to take. And it covers a GE, and it's a really easy A.
All right, we're gonna pivot a little bit. A lot of people are sort of concerned about getting involved, but specifically in research or like an internship. Can you guys talk sort of about, what processes for applying for things like that are? Do you need experience? What's that like?
Yeah, so I'll come right back and I'll hit on internships. A lot of students at Viterbi intern over their summers, and then some get co-ops if they're interested in it, of working part-time during the year. But most common are internships, and then there's a bunch of ways to do this. One, pre getting like your interview and stuff like that, there's a Viterbi Career Center, which has a lot of resources. It looks over your resume so a real person can read it, and then also gives it to a robot, because a robot always sees it first. So it's good to have a robot on your side that can give you the good tips. And then on that, they also have interview help, so you can practice your interviews. So when it gets time to game day, that's the Career Center, or what is it? The Career Fair. USC has a big career fair that's down Truesdale. So many companies come out, and then everyone goes out there. You can talk to a bunch of companies. A lot of people get offers there. But then on top of that, Viterbi has our own career fair. So it's just engineering companies, consulting companies that are looking for engineers. And then it's only Viterbi students that are allowed to go to that one. So it's a little smaller environment. You can get directly to companies that are looking for students like us. And then so a ton of people get that. And then there's also Trojan Talks, where it's one company comes, sets up an event, and then they do interviews and stuff like that. So a lot of students at Viterbi, it's really not like a huge concern of getting an internship. And you can find that if you just put the work in, use all the resources, and then you can get your internship for the summer. This past summer, I was up in Seattle working at Boeing. And I know a bunch of other people working at companies all around the United States.
Yeah, I can.
Oh, go ahead, Aisha.
Go Asna. Go Asna.
All right, I'll go ahead and go. I think in terms of internships, I do want to piggyback off of what Nick said. I think USC does an amazing job of supporting students in terms of finding industry careers. And then often these internships can translate into full-time careers. So it's a really nice opportunity to be able to get your foot into experience. And also a lot of USC alumni come back and recruit from USC, which is like a really good experience because they know exactly what you've gone through. And so it's a better way of like sharing your experiences. I think in terms of the research aspect though, something that I would recommend is that you kind of understand where in your major or where in your line of interest, it doesn't even have to be within your major, right? It could be in a completely different sort of field you're interested in doing research in. And then there's a wide array of labs at USC, both on the main campus. And if you're interested in health related research, there's also the health sciences campus. And you can go ahead and do research and find labs online that may be fitting towards your interests. And then you can meet with the PI. People here are super, super open to meeting with students. So you can go ahead and meet your principal investigator or PI, and then talk to them about what the expectations for the lab would be. And then oftentimes you might find 2 or 3 labs that you're interested in, and then you can go ahead and narrow down based on your interests. There's also a lot of funding opportunities at USC that I think people talked about in their intro. So for example, Curve, which is the like undergraduate like fellowship. There's also SURF and Provost. So there's a lot of different opportunities to also get compensated for your research.
Yeah, for me, my freshman year when I started doing research, it was completely online during COVID. I was like, I have no idea how I'm gonna like get these opportunities and meet people. So how I actually got my position is I cold emailed a BME professor at USC, like did not know her at all, just saw her on the Viterbi website, thought her research sounded cool, sent her an email, and she responded and was like, you know what, I could use a couple more undergrads in my lab. Like, why don't we do an interview and like we'll see how it goes? And I was like, perfect, that solves all my problems. So that was really awesome. And like, don't be afraid to just cold email anybody you want to talk to or want to meet with, because it really like it can really work. Sometimes it might take multiple tries, but it can work. So that's how I got my research freshman year, which was awesome. And then my for my also Asna didn't mention that she interned at like one of the biggest medical technology companies this summer, but I'll just throw it out there that she did. um I the I interned this summer at Amgen, which is like a biotech company, and I actually got that opportunity just by like talking to my friends within the major and seeing kind of like what opportunities they had known about. So my friend had applied last year and she was like, yeah, I think you'd like it. So I applied this year. I was able to get an interview, and it was super awesome. Last year I interned like straight through Viterbi. I interned for the Viterbi Startup Garage. So I heard about it from Viterbi just from like an email from our advisors. I applied, and I got to work with a lot of people that had gone through Viterbi and are now building their own startups, which was really cool. So that was like directly through the school. And I see a lot of questions as well that are like, what makes USC different? And I can like kind of tie it in here. But when you're looking for like internships or opportunities or full-time offers, like the Trojan family is like absolutely insane. Like it's like it sounds really cheesy and fake, but I promise you it's not. Like for this summer when I was trying to intern at Amgen, I like messaged to like 6 alumni that worked at the company, and I think like 5 of them out of the 6 responded back and was like, yeah, we'd love to have a coffee chat with you and like talk about the company and how you might fit in. And I was like, that's great. So that's like a really big resource that as like a USC and specifically a Viterbi student, like we have to use, and it's just a great opportunity for us because it kind of automatically gets our foot in the door a little bit by just having alum that we can connect with that are so prideful in USC, that love to talk to current USC undergrads and can help you kind of get these opportunities, get that interview. So that's really awesome. And it's helped me both summers for my internships.
I'll add one last thing to the Viterbi Startup Garage. I worked for them this summer too, with this startup called 222. They're a Y Combinator backed company, and the fact that they were willing to take me on with pretty limited experience in computer science. Like I've worked with web development before, like front-end engineering, which is what I did for them. But only a little bit. And so they were like, you seem interesting enough, we'll take you. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. And so they put so much faith into me that I could handle it. And they just like let me sort of try out different things in terms of what I was building and working on. And I think that it was really cool how they like saw that Viterbi students have that potential. So they were like, we'll let you try anything. Like, we know you can do it. If you need help, we're always here. And like, I could just talk to like people who are working on like the 222 mission and products anytime. Like whenever I needed more help, I'd be like, hey, can you like review my code? Like, let me know if there's anything I can improve on. And yeah, like they were also part of the Trojan family. Like I think 2 out of the 3 people in the C-suite graduated from USC. And so I think, yeah, like sort of like full circle, it's pretty cool how it worked out.
All right, we can move on to the next question since I feel like that one was answered pretty like completely. This question is, what are the professors like at USC? Do the students have personal relationship with the professors? Are classes taught by TAs? And are the classes collaborative or more lecture-like? So sort of complex, but I feel like all touching on very similar things.
I can talk first. I always have a really funny example because I have a couple of friends and I we're all taking CS classes, even though we started out, all 3 of us, as different majors that just happened to have to take CS classes. And one of our professors, I remember sitting in the first row when me and my friend, we just sit there in the first row and listen to him talk. He'd say some funny jokes and we'd laugh. And we'd go to office hours and share some of our own CS jokes with him. After many weeks of going to office hours, one of my friends was like, what if we got breakfast with him? Because we had guest swipes to the dining hall as freshmen. And so they were like, we should ask. And so we did. And we swiped him into the dining hall. And he literally had breakfast with one of our professors. And then that was fall semester. Spring semester came around. We did that again with that same professor and then a new CS professor we had. And now this semester we're planning on doing 3 because it sort of just builds on and on and on. Like they know our names, we know their names. Like it's not just like, oh, like it's some kind of like celebrity professor that we're talking about that everyone knows who they are. No, like they know us personally. Like that professor that I first met, he knows where I'm from, like where my hometown is. He knows what I'm involved in on campus. He's volunteered to help out with HackSC. It's like there are like really meaningful connections there, and like we talk about like maybe what I'm interested in doing in the future, because he himself graduated from USC in the CECS program. And so he's, I think, been really formative in not just teaching me this like the content that I need to know for classes, but also helping me find the direction I want to pursue as a career. And it's also really interesting because within CECS he teaches in both CS and EE. I had him for 3 semesters in a row. He's written recommendations for me before. Like it can really like it's a close relationship that I'm really happy to have gotten at USC.
Nice. And then to jump in right here and just fully address some questions, there are no classes that are ever taught by TAs at Viterbi. Every single class is taught by like professors. Of course, we have TAs and we have supplemental instructors, which are super nice.
And CPs.
What?
And CPs.
What are those?
I'm a CP. Yeah, you basically, it's like an undergraduate TA. It's sort of, I think, like there are different names for it in the computer science department, and I know some other departments. Basically, you just hold office hours. Sometimes you help out with labs or that kind of thing, but you're basically there as a resource for students having gone through the class before or maybe taken a similar class.
Oh, so you're like a cooler, chiller TA.
Exactly.
Sort of.
Nice.
Exactly.
Yeah, but despite all those resources, the professor always teaches the class, so you don't ever worry about that. And then in my experiences, it depends from like different majors. So each major has like different professors and stuff like that. For all the ones that I've taken in Astro, I love them. They're amazing. Right now I'm taking a class, even a master's class right now with Garrett Reisman. He's an astronaut. You can look him up. I think he has like 96 hours in space. Flew on the space shuttle. And he learns all our names in class. Every time everyone introduces themselves, gives their name, like, oh, great, talk about what we've done. And then also Jim Chase, NASA JPL systems engineer. At the end of the year, this past semester, so the past year, after class ended, we went to Rock and Riley's on in the Village, which is this like restaurant bar area. And everyone in the class got like 15, 30 minutes. We all scheduled our times, whatever we needed. And then we just got to sit down with him and just chit chat. He gave me a lot of really great advice, like future careers, what I want to do, how I want to get there. I always thought I wanted to be like mission design and navigation engineer. And then so he gave me the roadmap, like, hey, you're gonna need to do A, B, and C to get this far. And it gave me a lot of great stuff that I was like, oh, I didn't know that. I'm glad I'm glad I sat down and talked with them. And every single professor that I've had within engineering has just been really, I think like empathetic is the best thing. Classes are hard. Like engineering is a tough subject to study. But then all the professors that have even I was doing rocket propulsion and then gas dynamics. Each of those classes, I was just having a rough time. I had a lot of work going on. Kaleigh, you'll feel it junior year for aerospace mechanical and astro students is the toughest. And so I just had a lot of stuff. And I emailed him. I was like, hey, Daniel, I'm in the rough right now. Could I have like maybe an extra day? I got to do this, and then I'll get on you, and then I'll get this stuff done. And he's like, yeah, no biggie. Take it easy. Here's 2 days. Get it done. Also, there's office hours on Wednesday, so you can hit me up there if you have any more questions. And I was like, oh my gosh, you're the best. And I've had that experience with a lot of other professors where they're just like empathetic, understanding. We're all just students trying to study and like learn stuff. And it's really not that big of a deal.
Yeah, I think I can also sort of piggyback off of that. And all the people that Nick just mentioned, I do know all of them. Even Professor Eastman, and I have literally not even had a class with him, but I know him and he knows my name, which is very weird. But I think goes to speak as to like how like close knit the community is and how much like everyone really truly cares about you. But I can talk a little bit about Professor Chase, and like I'm taking this class right now, and we've only had one singular homework assignment done. And like in rocket propulsion lab, the first week of classes, I was doing this massive like manufacturing sprint, and I literally could not get the first homework done in this class. And so Professor Chase was like, hey, like, are you doing okay? Reached out to me, and I think that that was very great. And so he gave me an extension on literally my first homework, which I feel like, you know, typically you would think that it would take like, oh, you know, you have to build this trust, da, 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 da. But it's there from the beginning, which I think is very nice and very comforting. And it was like, I was like, I'm panicking, like I don't know what I'm doing. But he was like, no, it's okay. Like, just tell me if you have any concerns, where can I help? He talked to me in lecture and he was like, are you sure you're okay? Is there anything I can do? And just like constantly having that support and that like reinforcement is very, very, very important. And I think that basically all professors are like that here, especially within Viterbi. So I constantly feel very supported in class.
The nice thing is the classes are pretty small too. On average, like I feel like I've never gotten above like 45 for a lecture. Yeah. And that was like freshman year thermodynamics. It was max was like 45. And so when you have smaller classes, it's just a lot easier to approach the professor, ask questions. It's smaller groups, so then they're not looking at like a sea full of students, just a blank face on a roster. And so that really helps with it. And I love Chase. Chase is the most empathetic person ever. He'll go out of his way to make sure you're okay. You don't even have to reach out. I think one time like he emailed, he's like, hey, are you doing good? I'm like, no, I'm not. And he's like, yeah, I got you. It's good. Take it easy. Go to bed. Circle back. Shoot me an email in the morning.
That is
I just wanna go ahead, Aisha. Go.
Okay. I will be I hate to say it, but I will be like the bearer of some bad news. You're not gonna like all your professors. Just like wherever you go, you're not going to. So the same is true at USC. You know, you have some professors you really like that are really understanding, and you have some that are just a little more difficult. They're just the bad apples that you got to weed out and you got to push through. So, you know, I hate to say that there are bad professors here, but you know, you're never going to find a college that doesn't have bad professors. I will kind of agree with everybody. I think like for the most part, our engineering professors know that engineering is hard. So when it comes to like needing extensions, like I did the same thing as probably everybody here, and I like sophomore year I emailed one of our professors and was like, hey, I'm like burning out right now. Can I please turn in our final project like not by this date? And he was like, yeah, sure, if you turn it in by this date you'll get extra credit, but if you don't, it's okay. And I was like, oh, perfect by me. So it really just you have to work to kind of build those connections, but for the most part, they are fairly understanding, I would say. And of course, you have some that are a little bit more difficult, but you just take the punches as they come in. And then one example that I like to use is sophomore year. I don't know if you went to it, Asna, but one of our BME professors invited invited us to his house on Malibu Beach. Malibu, Manhattan. I do not even remember. Manhattan, yeah. This beautiful beach house. We met his wife, his two daughters, his sons, and his two dogs. It was a really funny time, but it was just a great way to kind of see our professor outside of the academic setting and like talk to him like a regular person and just kind of see what his life experiences were. And he took us on like a walk on the beach. It was really funny. So I thought that was really sweet. And his class was rough. I can't lie. His class was rough, but that definitely like made me feel like, oh, he's a really nice person down there. And although he kind of overwhelms us with work, he was a sweetie. So yeah, that's just kind of one example I have of like a professor getting really personal and kind of showing you a glimpse into their life outside of school.
Yeah, I have to agree. I think these professors are so accomplished. I think that professor is on the patent for the cochlear implant, or it might have been another professor, but like these are like highly accomplished people who like want to teach you and want to be there for you. And I also remember when I was in your shoes, like as a high school student, and I was trying to figure out how I wanted to navigate college as a pre-med, I understood that one of my like highest priorities was developing relationships with my professors because like part of the application process for grad school is to have like letters of recommendation from professors who have taught you. So I was like considering between different schools, and like part of the reason why I chose USC is because of the small class sizes that Nick mentioned. Also the fact that you get way better, you have like more of an opportunity, I'd say, to develop relationships with your professor. Another thing I want to add, which is one of the questions that Kaleigh mentioned, was whether the culture is competitive or collaborative. I am like in engineering, but I'm also in the pre-med like circle. And like I'm sure Aisha can attest to this, but nowhere have I ever found a more collaborative community. And that's honestly me not sugarcoating. Like people are just so willing to help each other here. And I think that like that's part of the USC culture is to be super, super collaborative. So yeah, like once you see other people collaborating, you yourself want to collaborate and you contribute to that culture over and over. So yeah.
Yeah. And it's nice in pre-med, especially.
Yeah.
We will collaborate as engineers. And other people might not as much. So it's really helpful.
Absolutely.
No, yeah, it's definitely a Viterbi thing. Like professors really incentivize like collaboration in their work. And also like engineering's hard enough. You don't need to be fighting against each other to get the job done. Like the work is hard and then you just work together to get it done. We're not like I remember material science is a popular class, and the reason it's so popular is because everyone that's not pre-med, like sorry, BME, you have to take it because you have to do or chemistry to organic chem and all that stuff. But if you don't have to go to organic chemistry, everyone takes material science because we avoid the pre-med majors who are all fighting to get the highest GPA and everyone's going against each other. Where in material science, everyone's kind of just casually learning chemistry, super chill. Everyone knows, oh, we're all engineers here. We just got to get this out of the way, do our chemistry, and then we get to move on, do the stuff that we want to do, build rockets and stuff like that.
Yeah, like in one of my classes, CS 170, it's notoriously difficult because like it's something you've never done before. And our professor was like, form study groups. He said it like many, many times on Piazza, like where a lot of like it's like the Q&A sort of forum. And basically living in USC housing as a freshman, what we would do is we get like a whole crowd of like 5, 6, 7 CS majors. Everyone sit down in a room and try to figure out exactly what problem, like how do you solve this problem? Like maybe one person just got the answer, but another one is like, I have no idea where to even start. And so people will like exchange like ways of explaining the problem. So like you can, instead of maybe like giving away an answer, like they'll prompt you towards the right direction. And like because there are so many people there, each person has a different take or a different way of figuring things out. And so working together, you're able to get it done much quicker than doing it alone. And like that's something that our professors literally told us to do because they were like, that'll help you understand this idea so much better in the long run.
I would be in
All
so
right.
Physical pain.
Oh, you can finish, Aisha, then we'll get to our last question.
Okay. That's all I had to say. I'd be in a lot of physical pain without my study group, like so much.
Yeah, oh my goodness, totally.
So much.
Okay, our last question, I think our best question, it's the big why USC question. Why did you choose USC? Why are you still choosing USC for, you know, those upperclassmen? So yeah.
I guess I can take this one first. I know I didn't really touch upon this that much, but as I mentioned in the beginning, I work for Annenberg Media, and I really care about engineering, like especially like computer science stuff, but also how we can use that in other fields. And so for me, I one of my biggest passions has always been communicating technology. And that's something that I am able to accomplish at USC because of not just the engineering school, but also other programs like Annenberg, which is our School of Journalism and Communication. And so being able to work on like understanding technical stuff, but also like having people that can teach me how to tell people about the stuff I'm learning about or the stuff others are working on, like through my CS department job, where I take research that people are working on or like events that people are putting on at USC, and I tell people like, why does this matter? Why is this important? And that's something that's always sort of been drilled into me because my mom comes from a very non-technical background, and she's always asking me like, how does this work? How does this work? Can you explain it to me? And because engineering is something that we all interact with on the day-to-day now, being able to put more minds at ease when it comes to the technology we interact with is something I really care about, and I know a lot of people at Viterbi do too. And so that's part of the reason why that I'm still here, because I know that people are willing to help me out in accomplishing this mission.
Absolutely. The community is so, so important. I'd say that the reason why I chose USC is because I knew coming out of high school that I didn't want tunnel vision in whatever I wanted to do. I really wanted to be interdisciplinary. And so I was considering between different colleges. I was basically asking myself, which one is going to allow me to explore outside of the classroom and outside of the things that I study? And for me, that ended up being USC. So like now I'm here, I'm studying biomedical engineering, but my minor's in like a history department major or minor. I'm also like down at Skid Row, I'm doing health screenings. I'm also like, I did for example, Maymester, which is like a 2 or 3 week class, which is like abroad. So I went to Serbia, Bulgaria, and Romania. I really wanted my undergraduate experience to be super breadth over depth, and I wanted to be interdisciplinary. And I think that like of all the schools that I was choosing, USC offered me that. And that's the reason why I'm still at USC, is also because I feel like USC fulfills that desire inside of me.
Me?
Yeah, you
All
can
right.
go.
I'll let Nick cook. I mean, kind of exactly what has already been said. I chose USC because the first reason why I chose USC, which is just very more just real in a sense, is that USC gave me the most money. So that made it just really helps the decision in terms like on with scholarships and financial aid. It just was significantly more feasible for me and my family. So disclaimer, that was a big decider in my decision to go to USC. But outside of that, when I came to this school, I actually talked to a VSA from Hawaii like myself, who was BME, which I am now. And she just was really sincere and real with me about her experience in Viterbi, and like her future plans and how she thinks USC like helped her get there. She told me about how she didn't want to be just kind of held down by engineering and have that be all that she was. And that really resonated with me, that USC allowed me to be both an engineer as well as a student, just like a regular, ordinary human being outside of engineering. And I could do things like take hip hop dance, and I took basketball and take classes in the business school and like do all of these like super amazing things, not necessarily related to Viterbi, but still within USC, that I could still pursue. And that was just really important to me, that I was able to segment like half my brain for engineering and the other half to do whatever else I wanted to do. So kind of like exactly what Asna was saying, like just having that kind of interdisciplinary aspect, being able to explore different areas while also pursuing engineering and pre-med was really important to me. And I just found that at USC. And the reason why I'm still here is the community. I mean, coming out of freshman year from COVID, it was hard being all online. And as soon as I stepped on campus sophomore year, I was like, oh, it's as if I've been here for a year, really. I had friends from classes, I had roommates. Like it was just like an amazing experience, and I'm still friends with a lot of the people that I met online freshman year. So having that community and that support throughout those 4 years really means a lot, and it keeps you going for sure.
Nice. Thanks for giving me some time to cook, Aisha.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was a
I definitely had to think. Well, we're seniors now, so it was way back. I was trying to actually think like, why did I decide? Because it was a minute ago. Yeah, and so for me, a lot of times, what I was looking into was astro, and so I wanted space. And then I also wanted to do things outside of engineering, and so everything that you've read about and also heard from other panelists, of just being a big like diverse engineer and study all the other fields outside of engineering while getting a great engineering education. That's why I chose to come. But to be honest, like out of all the stats that I looked at, and then all of like everything that you look up online, the rankings, power rankings, like community, environment, classroom
Do you
size, and
have
stuff
an
like
Excel
that,
sheet?
I did have an Excel sheet.
I
Of
knew
course,
I have an Excel
I had the
sheet.
numbers running and everything. We're engineers, Aisha. Either way, I had that. To be honest, it was useless. I don't think it was any major. It was good for keeping track, but it was never a major indicator. Now that I've been in college for a while, it's not a major indicator of like what is the best fit. Because the big thing is the best fit for you. Like the college that I find that is amazing, the perfect fit for me might not be the best fit for you. And the big thing is finding out where you belong. And so the big thing was like community. Once you get down to it, engineering, thermodynamics doesn't change no matter who teaches it to you. Obviously, USC has a ton of resources, which makes it a lot easier. But like the math won't change. The big thing is like who you're going to be doing it with for 4 years. 4 years is a pretty long time. And so it's like who you're going to be day to day by in class, who you're going to be living with, the community that you're surrounded in, the orgs that you join. And the biggest thing for me now, looking back, is just like, the people. I think the best thing you can do. Obviously, you came to this panel, so you got a good glimpse of that. But you can also just hit up any other students, walk around campus, talk to the students, get general vibe check on how everyone's feeling. And that was the biggest thing for me. I think I found a home here, and I couldn't see myself anywhere else.
Awesome. And with that, that is our final question. We really hope you enjoyed the live chat tonight and gained some insight on what it's like to be an engineering student at USC. If you missed any of the chat, you can rewatch the whole thing on our YouTube channel. Let me share my screen again. Okay. So for admissions, we would love to stay connected with you, and a way to connect with the Viterbi admissions office is to go to an information session. This is a great opportunity to learn more about the application process. And if you are interested, you can register at viterbiadmission.usc.edu/visit. It's a good time to take a picture of the screen so you have this information to look for later. So if you're interested in coming here and visiting us, take a picture of the screen. All right, on to the next one. There will be more live chat / live events for the rest of this semester. So up until that early deadline. So we just did the Viterbi student live chat, but on YouTube, we're going to be having a series of events. So that includes a tour of the Viterbi school, as well as 2 dorm tours. And then we'll end at the end of October with the Meet the Majors live chat. So you'll get to go into breakout rooms with majors that you're interested in. So if you're interested in the chats, go to viterbi.live/chats. And then you can find our events at the YouTube. And then you can also follow us on Instagram, where we'll post about all of these events and constantly be reaching out to you. So follow at Viterbi Student on Instagram for reminders about our upcoming live chats and live events, as well as like links for the YouTube and all that good stuff. For some more resources, We want you to take a moment. We want to take a moment and shout out some amazing resources for students, which include our Viterbi student website that you see there on that screen. We have the Viterbi undergraduate website, as well as our admission website. So if you're interested in learning more about Viterbi, you can check out the Viterbi student website or the Viterbi undergrad website. And if you're interested in exploring the campus, check out the admission site. Alrighty. And then here's a big reminder, the early action deadline is November 1st. So really get those applications in by November 1st. We are a Common App school. Regarding staying connected with us, you can follow us on Instagram. Like I said before, check out our YouTube channel, our Twitter, TikTok. Nick's over there on the TikTok. And then we also have a podcast called Viterbi Voices. The podcast, there's a ton of great information on there. We're on like our 8th season or something like that, or 9th. We have a ton of episodes. So if you're interested in any of this, please check out all of these resources. And if you want to learn more about what life is like as an engineering student at USC, or just have any more questions for us, make sure to hit up that email, vstudent@usc.edu, with all of your remaining questions, whether that be ones that we didn't get to answer here in the live chat or ones that just pop into your head at a later date. Thank you once again so much for tuning in tonight. Good luck in your college applications. Stay safe. And as always,
Fight
Right
on.
on.
thank you guys. Have a great night.